on the recruitment, selection, and process of hiring a new city manager. I'm Mayor Stephen Cassidy, and this is Councilmember Diana Souza, and we're two of the three members of an ad hoc committee that the City Council created to work with the staff to develop the plan for the hiring of a new city manager. To give you a little idea on the process, we will be interviewing. We have selected from more than 30 applicants, 5 candidates to come forward for interviews. That's going to occur on May 7th, and the interviews will be conducted by the full City Council without staff. And we will have a set of questions for each candidate. And part of why we want to have the meeting today was to get your input on the selection process and to talk about the survey responses that we already have, because your input's going to be, we want to incorporate it into the questions that we ask the folks, and also into our decision-making process on whom we actually give a job offer to. Our hope is, of course, that we have, we believe we have 5 very qualified candidates, and hopefully we'll have 1 or maybe 2 truly outstanding candidates that emerge from the interview process. And then we'll enter into contract negotiations, and our goal is to have the new city manager on board by the end of June, when our current city manager has announced his resignation and his term as city manager is coming to an end. So that's a little bit of an overview. And I do want to note that while this is being put on by the ad hoc committee, one of our members, Ursa Reed, she originally was going to be able to come, but she's speaking today at a conference, and they switched her time to the morning. And it was a conference that she had previously agreed to speak at. And then also some of our other council members who wanted to be present, they're up in Sacramento, specifically Councilmember Cutter and Councilmember Pro, that I'm aware of, attending the California Democratic Convention. And so that was a conflict on their schedule. They're both delegates to the convention. But the information that we gather today, we're going to take back to the full council, and it will be part of the, again, the decisions that we move forward with in terms of interviewing and selecting a new city manager. With that, I will turn the microphone over to Councilmember Souza to talk a little bit about the qualities and the factors that we thought were most important in the city manager.
Thank you all for coming. I just want to start out by saying, how many of you have seen the survey questions and filled one out online? Anybody here? One? Okay, great. So you're all here to give us live input, and we greatly appreciate your time and energy this morning to provide us with that live input. And as our Mayor Cassidy mentioned, this is a process that we're going through. We're very excited about the process and the opportunity to bring this meeting to you today so you can give us this live input. And it is the entire council, as he mentioned, some of them are away, but they wouldn't have been up here anyway because this is basically an ad hoc committee. So I don't want you to think that they're not concerned about this process. They're very concerned, and they're very anxious for our report. And one other thing I just want to make sure you understand is that in the process, our goal is to have someone starting by July 1. Should that not happen, we're not going to just hire someone because we want that seat filled. We're going to be very diligent in making sure it's the right person. And if we need to, we will extend that. So I just want to make sure that that is understood. So some of the qualities, you haven't done the online survey, but I hope everyone grabbed one of our flyers here today, because it just kind of outlines some of the qualities. And it came right off of the brochure. We posted this brochure for all interested applicants. It went online for Western states where city managers and city people would see it. And it talks about our city. It has wonderful pictures and a lot of good information. A lot of that information is here. And so the candidates know what we're looking for, what we felt we're looking for. And now it's going to get to, what does our community want the city manager to be? And that's what this part of it is. So some of the things that we thought were important are here. And I can just kind of go over those a little bit. The city manager is appointed by the city council. This is one seat that we do appoint, and we do appoint the city attorney. Those are the only two positions in the city that the city council has direct relationship with and control over. The city manager is responsible for implementing policies as directed by the city council and enforcing all municipal laws and regulations for the benefit of the community. The city manager's duty include direction and supervision of departments, preparation and administration of the annual city budget, and planning and implementation of key projects. So in other words, the city manager is like the CFO of a company. They are in charge of everything. The buck stops there, with the city council being the one that they report to, and actually it probably stops with us, not the city manager. But he is in charge of the city, and he directs the staff. We direct the city manager and the city attorney. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back over to Stephen, and he's going to give us a little more information.
Thank you. And you all have the sheet here. It cites the, it sets forth the qualifications and also the qualities and characteristics that we want in a new city manager. And part of what we'd like to, for today to spend the first part on is for you to take a look at this. I'm not going to, literally read this to you, for you, but you take a look at, and then tell us which of these qualities you think are most important, or what should be emphasized, or maybe the answer is all of them, and that's perfectly fine. And also in particular, is there something that we missed? Is there a quality or characteristic that we did not list here that should be on the table for our consideration? If we missed something, we want to know before we interview the folks and not after. So that's an important part of this. And to tell you about the survey that we have it online, and it's a public document. Eventually we'll release it, in its form to the public. And it's, as of the 28th, so a couple days ago, we've had 80 responses, and they've been, fabulous responses. People obviously spent a lot of time, put a lot of energy into it. And just to give you a little bit of a summary, in terms of, some of the most important qualities that folks were emphasized in the surveys in terms of qualifications. Public finance skills were rated very highly, as was business and economic development skills. A large number of folks wanted the new city manager to live in our community. Communication skills were also highly ranked, and a focus on the community and participation in the community, along with a long-range perspective. Those were some of the qualities that were mentioned most in the survey, of qualities that individuals want to see in the city manager. In terms of other qualifications that folks thought were important as well, and this was really the second question in the survey, which was, what other qualifications do you suggest be included in our selection process? And collaboration and communication with employees in the community was by far and away the #1 quality that was mentioned. Other qualities were department management, experience solving fiscal shortages, shortfalls, contemporary thinker, new ideas, interpersonal skills, and compassion, and experience of both the public and the private sector. And then another one was business experience, which is probably the private sector as well. So those were some of the qualities that were mentioned that folks thought that we perhaps had not emphasized enough in our brochure and wanted greater emphasis in the selection process. So at this point, I want to turn the meeting over to you, essentially, for you to give us feedback, so that we are focused. Again, the question is, it's two questions, but the first part is, what are the qualities and characteristics that you want to see in our next city manager that we have mentioned that are of most importance to you? So what should we really look for? And then, is there anything that we're missing in our criteria that we've created? I'd like to have that be the focus of our conversation initially. After we do that, we get your input, then I'd like to get your input on what do you think are some of the most pressing issues facing our city. And if you care, and we'll listen to that perspective as well. But let's do this in two phases, focusing first on the city manager selection process. We have a microphone right down here that's on. When you first go up to it and speak to it, like the first word you don't hear, but the second word though, then it seems like kick in like 1 second after you start speaking. So don't be bashful. We're here to your chance to speak to us, and just come on over or come on down, whichever is the case.
Or just sit in your seat and raise your hand.
Okay.
If you're more comfortable with that.
Okay. And if you could state your name to start the process, thanks.
Hi, my name is Craig Williams. I live in San Leandro on Bashir Avenue. My concern would be, and actually this is dealing more with issues probably, you could say, we need to have a city manager who has a lot of backbone as a characteristic, or, and a strong sense of morality. One of the biggest problems I think San Leandro faces is that there's a big property tax scam, commercial property tax scam going on throughout the state, which is causing a lot of our problems. Commercial property tax, a lot of companies are able to set up, these corporations where, they keep the same property tax even though the property is sold. A very good example is Lawns. Lawns was sold to CVS. The place on the corner over there is valued at $1.4 million, which for a property that size is a joke. It should be probably somewhere in the $20, $30 million range. I saw a kid get knocked on the ground because he was shoplifting in that place, and they were jamming his head into the concrete for stealing a few candy bars. That place over there probably steals $30,000 or $40,000 a year from the city coffers, from the state coffers. You get the Chevron station on Davis and San Leandro Boulevard. That property is valued, or their property tax rate is $160,000, which means that they're probably paying a little over $1,600 a year. They probably pump $1,600 worth of gas in 2 hours. So, this is a statewide issue, but if we could go through the different properties and at least have some of the businesses voluntarily pay what's their fair share, I think that would be an interesting project for the city manager, and it could bring a lot of money into the city. The other thing, which is sort of contradictory to what I'm saying, is that we're so close to Silicon Valley that we really need to spend a lot of time trying to recruit businesses from Silicon Valley into San Leandro. It's such an ideal position compared to almost anyone else in the world in terms of being close to Silicon Valley and potentially bringing in high-tech jobs. That I think this should be a priority of the city to focus on what's available and at least make a strong bid for those jobs. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
So I just want to encourage you to all get up, because this meeting is for you. We're here to listen to you, and you came here because you care about this city, and so we really want to hear what you have to say. So I really encourage you to get up and share whatever you have to say, however little you think it is or how unimportant you might think it is, but it is important, and so please do share.
Yeah, my name is Harold Perez. I want to touch a little bit about this. You've heard me scream about this before. The word is democracy. And you guys are going to go through and nominate somebody for city manager, and in the works, there's already going to be, they're trying to start it, because I'm hearing it on the street, and I've heard some of your people talking about it already, is a parcel tax. Here we're paying this guy $200,000 a year or more, and yet the citizens of this area don't have a say into who's gonna sit on this board. I'm glad to see you in there, Cassidy, because you went in there and said, oh, we're gonna try to cut this down. Look at our taxes. 10% cost me 10 cents on every dollar that I spend here in this city. And take a ride around in the city and see. I've been here since 47. I drove truck. I delivered and picked up here. I know what the economy used to be here. Look at it now. You can go in my neighborhood. It's almost a ghost town. And the thing is, and you know yourself, you've went to every Middle Eastern country and bombed them. You got, what, 3 wards, 4 wards going because the people were in there too long. Give us a choice to vote on this person. If you have to put them in there, put them in. When the city council comes up for a vote or you come up for the next voting, put their name in there too, because then if they don't do a good job, we can move them out and put somebody else in there. The way you've got it now, I gotta wait till the person dies or retires. And you think that's right? I wish I had a job. I'd gladly take $200,000 a year till the day you move me out of there. And I don't think this is right. This is why I came down to this meeting, because you've heard me before scream about democracy. That's what, even when I was a little kid going to school, the word has always been people get to vote for what they need. And we don't get a vote here. We got 7 people in the city council we got to fight against. And then now you're going to put a city manager, if it's somebody we don't like, we're stuck with him until, like I said, he dies or moves out. And I'm glad you sat there and listened to what I had to say.
And this is our time to listen. After we hear all your statements, we may make a few comments, but it really is our time to listen to you. I will say, if you have a complete phobia of getting up and speaking, that's okay. Again, we have the online survey, and we have a hard copy too, which you can fill out and just send it to City Hall. But the online survey, it's actually today's the last day, although I think technically they're not going to be taking it down until Monday. So if you do that soon, or don't wait till the end of next week, because it won't be available then. So anyone else want to come up and speak? I know some of your names that we call you to come down.
Hi, I'm Mia Owsley, you know my name. I was kind of hoping that this wouldn't just be a time to listen, but to have some back and forth to maybe get a few answers. Like, one of the questions I have is, looking at the qualifications, is since the city council is doing these interviews and the public does not get to interview a candidate, which I agree with Mr. Davis, I can't remember if I have that name correct, that I would prefer that the city patrons actually get to participate in interviewing and choosing and selecting the candidate. But you talk about some of the qualities you want, and what kind of a system does the city council use to actually judge a candidate's, for example, their successful municipal management, or how they meet the criteria you're setting out for candidates? Do you have, how do you judge that a candidate will have San Leandro's best interest at heart? Or are you kind of bound by law as to what you're allowed to ask and what determinations you're bound to make when you hire a city manager? I don't know, can you answer any of these questions at all?
Yes, we can, but I'm not, we're going to take this as input, and then once we get done hearing everybody, then I think we'll go through each person's statements and offer feedback, okay?
Okay, so the next...
Or we'll offer answers.
So, the next thing I wanted to ask was, are the candidates aware of San Leandro by Design and the progress that it's made and what status it's at, so that they can be working within that program once they take office? And secondly, as a consideration, I know my husband told you earlier, and one of the concerns that he and I have always had is, this could be a time, while we are going to have to hire a city manager, I do think that the city should be thinking about, or rethinking, whether or not it should be run by a strong city manager versus a strong mayor, because of the issues that the gentleman before me and I have, which is the public really doesn't have control over and no recourse to unelect a city manager who is not performing up to their standards. Yes, we can choose to not elect or throw out of office a couple of city council members at one time because we're unhappy with decisions that might be made, but that's a very distant cry from being able to have public accountability from the city manager. Thank you.
Okay, Andy, you're never short on words. Do you want to make any comments?
The next city manager, I would like to see the candidate should come up from the business people. I don't like to see from the government, because what we see, the economy right now is very poor, and we have deficit, we pay a lot of taxes, property taxes, everything. And the sales tax, I believe, is the highest in the nation. I'd like to see is someone from the big business people that can bring the business to San Leandro, and also they can bring all the business to create job for our community. So in order we have more taxes go to the city hall. And the more business that we have in our city will reduce crime because people have a job, right? And also, like what we see in the South Bay, in Mipitas, they take a look in Mipitas. They have the mayor system, and they bring a lot of business to invest in Mipitas, the high tech, so they don't have to pay a lot. I mean, the people has a lot of job, and there will be less crime in their city. Why don't we do the same thing? Get someone, the candidate, they have good, wide knowledge of business field, and bring the business to San Leandro. And the second thing is, what I like to see, we have, like the census right now, we have 29% of Asian, and then second will be Latino and white and African American. And I like to see someone different from the past, not just only one group. Maybe we get someone from Asian, someone from Latino, or other, who has the good skill in business. And the third thing is, I like to see the new city manager. They can communicate with the community. We have four groups, main four groups: one Asian, Latino, white, and African American. I like to see this new city manager. Every month they set up a meeting with this group. Maybe the first month with Asian, second month with Latino, and third month with white, and the last with African American community. So communicate with the community. See what the community needs, because different community has different needs. And get the input from all different communities and do what we need for the best for the community and for the city. Thank you.
Shirley, do you want to offer some comments?
Gregory Albers. I live in Mulford Gardens. It's a long ways around this microphone.
You're worth the wait.
Pardon?
You are worth the wait.
Thank you. I agree with the comments that were made regarding the business community and so forth, but I would hope that our new city manager realizes that there are more qualities to San Leandro than a business community, more things that add to the quality of life that we have in San Leandro, and I'm referring to the crown jewel on the marina. It seems that all we're looking at now is some way to make money down there, and I don't think that's the answer. I think we need the recreation, and I don't see anything on here that he's interested, that a qualification that he'd be interested in anything besides business, business, business. And I think recreation and the quality of life and the recreation needs of this city and our valuable marina needs to be preserved for the public, not for a money-making project. Thanks.
Charlie, I see movement on your part.
Well, you've got most of the qualifications already listed, and you do keep the city manager on a fairly short leash, reviewing his contract every year, and I've never seen you go more than 2 years on the contract, so he comes up for review more often than you guys. I'm not sure the public's aware of just how diligent your oversight is. One thing I think the manager needs to do is have a strategic vision. At times, we seem to be reactive. Once you guys set policy, that's fine, but things go along, and it's like the other night. When Irmer was presenting the vision for Albertsons and for the former Town Hall Square, it was almost like it was in a little bit of a vacuum. I was sitting there thinking, well, they need to take another look at the TOD strategy, because when you passed your TOD strategy, you basically said the way we're going to attract and revitalize downtown is by increasing the density, by having all this housing in the area to have more people there that want to walk out their door and get to that stuff. Yet with crossings being sidetracked, not through any fault of yours, but because the developer last year wouldn't guarantee that to the state that he'd build 100 of the 600 market rate units on time. And now the other two major components that were planned for housing, which was Opportunity Site 1, the Albertsons, and Town Hall Square being retail or office space, you've taken the 3 largest density generators in the plan out of the plan, and someone should have, I think city staff should have said to you, this report is impacting on previous decisions you've made, and you need to look at the overall vision. I think you guys set the policy, but the manager needs not to be reactive and allow events to dominate. He needs to be able to come to you guys and say, okay, here is what you wanted to do. This decision is impacting how you might accomplish this goal. That if you guys set a course for San Leandro, you need a manager that every day is thinking, how do we keep the city on course with the policy that the council wants? And that can be business attraction and retention. It can be any number of things. But the next manager needs to be very responsive to you and also interested in communicating with the community. There's been a little bit of a disconnect over the years with between the things you guys are accomplishing and the pressures that are on you getting out to the community. So I think you mostly got it right, but they've got to have the vision thing.
Does anyone else wish to comment right now? Okay. As we said originally, we'll focus on the city manager selection and then open it up to just general comments about our city as well. But I think it's appropriate to try to give you some feedback as well to some of the specific points raised or questions asked, because I do want this to be interactive. And so I'll start with Craig Williams. In terms of your comments about property tax rates and how businesses can avoid seeing increases when they transfer ownership, that's a very interesting point. I don't know if the city has direct jurisdiction over that. That's something I'll have to talk to staff about it, because it's property tax is really controlled by the state and then enforced through the counties, through the county assessor. And I imagine that that's probably what I'll end up hearing, but that's a question that I'll inquire on. Recruiting businesses from Silicon Valley to San Leandro. I did like how you noticed that this might be contradictory to my next point, because we certainly want to create a business-friendly community as well. I mean, we're a residential community, we're also have an industrial and commercial area too. But the bringing more high-tech businesses in was offered by others as well. That is one of our interests. I'm interested in seeing our city have a strategic plan for commercial and economic development, working with staff and developing that. We have one that was written in the late 90s, was updated in mid last decade. It's ripe for review. And we're talking to some business owners, in particular the OSI Software, which is right on Davis, and they're looking at investing substantial additional funds in building a new building for their employees, but also looking at trying to improve the infrastructure for data transmission in our city, which they believe would be very attractive to bring in new businesses. So that's a matter that we're actively exploring, and hopefully we'll be able to update you on that later this year. Harold, you mentioned first a parcel tax. There's no plans within City Hall for any parcel tax measure. And I am, I just, on this one, speaking personally, I'm not interested in seeing the city go forth with any revenue measure in 2012 on the ballot. Now, stepping outside my shoes as mayor to, me as a parent of children that attend a public school, I am interested in seeing the schools look at additional revenue measures. And for schools, the only revenue measure that they really have, well, there's two. You can put a bond on the ballot that helps you build new facilities, but it cannot be used for operating funds, or a parcel tax, which that is used for operating funds. So if you've heard me talk about parcel tax, it may have been in that context, but not as a, I'm not interested in seeing one for the city. We just had the sales tax increase, which went into effect on April 1st. And it didn't put us at the highest sales tax in the nation, I think this was comment. But we are up there in California, certainly. There are two other cities down in the East Bay that have a higher sales tax. There are some down in Southern California that have higher sales tax as well. But we're definitely in the very top number now. And I think we need to, with the additional funds, it is helping us keep positions of public safety that would have otherwise been lost. Quality of life services such as branch libraries. But we now need to, we had a tax increase in my opinion, but now they need to live within that and budget properly without going to the voters for additional tax increase for the 2012 elections. I'm giving us the council vote on this person. that would require a change in the charter. You know, the charter is essentially our constitution. And you know, on a personal view, you know, and this comment later by Mia in terms of like the people aren't involved in the interview process, you know, I disagree with that. And I respect your opinion. I disagree with the point because I feel that I am the, you know, one of 7 people of San Leandro that are making this decision. I mean, I don't feel that there's a difference between me as mayor and the people, because I only sit as mayor because I was elected by the people of San Leandro, and I'm a resident of San Leandro. This is the way that, you know, through your elected representatives, in my opinion, is how the public does have input on these decisions. And there's certainly many decisions that are made at City Hall where I think it's completely appropriate and highly desirable that we have citizens groups involved and not just be decided by the City Council, such as the marina development, where it's a, you know, major project. It's complicated. There's lots of different variables. You want to have a wide spectrum of the community involved, studying an issue for an extended period of time, and where they can develop a real competency and expertise. I mean, there's many other examples where the public is involved, and you know, we have a new committee that's on looking at San Leandro's brand, so to speak. How do we position San Leandro to the wider community? And that's a group of business folks, a group of residents that are meeting. The hiring of the city manager, though, I view a little bit different, because this person, he or she, is working directly for the city council on a day-to-day basis, interacting with the mayor, interacting with the council members. There's some unique qualities and characteristics that you know, I just don't feel would be fleshed out as well if there was just a group of citizens interviewing the person that didn't have the expertise in city government as well. So that's why I make the distinction. You know, but I do want to emphasize that I truly feel that I am part of this community as much as anyone else, and that, you know, I'm looking at what I feel is in the best interest of the community. You know, I have an office at City Hall as mayor, but you know, in 3.5 years, I might not be there anymore. That office belongs to the people of San Leandro, and I'll be back living, you know, in my home and not have the office there. If you know, but I want to make sure that, you know, the city manager may be here for much longer. I hope we get a quality person that wants to stay here, and you know, be impacting my children's future in the city, and you know, my safety and the well-being of my family. And so, you know, I think we're all very motivated to get someone that will do a good job, and I don't, you know, and our interests aren't the same as your interest in that, I believe. Let's see, so turning to Mia, I think I addressed part of your question. You asked about San, you know, how do they meet the criteria? How do we judge them? Well, partially, you know, like any other job application, you know, we're looking at the resumes to start with. I mean, you know, we had over 30, and we've narrowed it down to 5. And we had a person with expert in personnel relations who's assisting the city, who's actually a former chair of our human relations department. Then he went to Livermore and other cities. But we've used him as a consultant for this purpose, and he's doing other functions. So this person had expertise in human relations, and he developed a matrix that we reviewed and approved in terms of, you know, dividing our candidates into 3 categories. You know, highly qualified, you know, more questionable. So, and you know, all 30 candidates got put into those categories, and you know, and I do want to preserve the confidentiality of the process, but I will tell you that all the 5 candidates that we interviewed were all ranked, you know, highly qualified by our HR person, and then we, as the ad hoc committee, Councilmember Souza and myself, and Councilmember Reed, you know, we reviewed all 30, and as it turned out, we agreed with, you know, his matrix ranking. And then we narrowed it down because he had about 10 within that matrix, and we narrowed it down to 5. You know, we were looking at you know, all the criteria that we've listed here. So that's the paper review. Now, you know, on May 7th, we're going to get the in-person, we're going to in-depth questioning, and that will be a good hour session for each person. And as I said, I hope that we'll be able to, one or two outstanding candidates emerge, and there's a consensus on the council that those are the people that we want to go forth with. At that point, we'll do a very in-depth background check. We'll pay for a professional screener to delve into everything. And that's expensive, it's time consuming. But I wanted to outline sort of the process of how we'll use this criteria. And the criteria that we've put here will be and what we've learned today will be incorporated in the questions that we actually ask the individuals at the session. You spoke about the city should think about having a strong mayor versus a strong city manager. Again, that's a charter reform measure as well, and I think there, there's some aspects of the charter I would like to change. It's not going to happen before May 7th, though,
Right.
And it requires a vote of the people. But I think we as a community should have a conversation about, does the city charter as it exists today work for us as best as it could, or should we make modifications? And that's something that though is going to be a conversation. And I think if there's enough interest, we should have that conversation. But that's more of a conversation either later this year or beginning of 2012, because ultimately, if there is going to be suggested amendments to the charter, it would have to be on the ballot for November 2012. That's our next election. But just in terms of the basic idea, like the public has no recourse over the city manager. As Mr. Gilchrist mentioned, generally the contracts have been 1 or 2 years, and the city manager is reviewed every year. Here's the thing. Yes, you have no direct vote over the city manager. That's clear to the charter. If you feel the city manager is not doing a good job, your accountability in that is over the bosses of the city manager, so to speak. You toss us out of office if you're dissatisfied with the city manager. And that was something when I served on the school board. It's sort of equivalent. Superintendent. I'd say, well, no one gets to vote for the superintendent, but they do get to vote for the school board trustees. And if they don't like what the superintendent's doing, it comes to us. So that we're all very appreciative of that. So it is indirect, but we know that if we don't have the right city manager, it certainly impacts our city, and ultimately there's the accountability is by the public through their evaluation of the candidates for office. Hendy, you spoke about bringing someone in not from government, but with the business background. We certainly want someone that has a good sense of how to recruit businesses, bring business development projects to town to fruition. I do say, though, that I think it's the majority view of the council that we want someone with government experience as well. And, in some way, we want someone that's been successful, in city government. So the candidates that we have all share that characteristic. No one is wholly from outside government and solely coming in from business. You spoke about, different communities here, and I have my little notebook here, and it's got my child's scrawls. I got to get to the next page. Someone who communicates with the community, realizing that we have different communities here and different needs. And you spoke about, the racial diversity, racial and ethnic diversity. We're very appreciative of that. And the idea of different communities with different needs and different ways to communicate, that's a real challenge for us as well. And it's also an opportunity, and it's going to be a challenging opportunity as well for the new city manager. Again, preserving the confidentiality. I won't get into a specific discussion of the demographics of our candidates, other than to say we do have a diverse group. But I will leave it at that. At the end of the day, we are going to hire the person that we think is going to do the best job for the position. Recognizing, though, that we value diversity, that we embrace diversity, that we want someone that is adept at speaking to all of our communities. But we're not going to maybe take it to the degree that you have suggested. There would be some legal issues with that as well. Aubrey, you spoke about the marina and the quality of life, and that is the crown jewel for our community. And we need to preserve the marina for the public and not just as a money-making project. And you know, I don't think that any council member would disagree with that. There is, but you know, as a general principle, but how that actually plays out with the specific development and whether, you know, what aspects of that development are approved, that's something that, you know, there will be a difference of opinion on, I'm sure. I will say that, you know, the marina development project has been in the works for a number of years now, and we're looking forward to having the community or Citizens Advisory Commission, Community Advisory, CAC, come forth with a specific proposal later this year on the harbor area. So originally when this commission was set up, it's about maybe it's about 35 now, 36 members, and they've been meeting for a number of years. We recently expanded it by a few members to add some additional voices to the table. They were looking at the development plans for around the harbor area in the marina, but they didn't have jurisdiction over telling us what should actually happen to the boat harbor itself. Essentially, the city council has given them that review, and so they're looking at the entire area, and we're very much interested in what plan comes forward. And you know, nothing has been decided at this point, and we will get recommendations in the next few months, and those will be noticed, and we invite the entire community to participate in that discussion. Charlie, you talked about having a strategic vision and how that, you know, sometimes maybe we look at individual development projects in a vacuum and we're not stepping back and looking at greater strategy. I think that's a very perceptive, and that's a great point, that you know, it's a very good reminder for us that, you know, we need to be you know, looking at the overall picture and, you know, not, you know, thinking about what is the downtown, in this case, what's the downtown that we want to have, as opposed to what are the merits of this particular project, because we need to make sure that this particular project fits within our overall strategic vision. And that's a very good reminder for us to keep that in mind as, you know, we look at any particular project. You know, you also spoke about the city manager has to be interested in communicating with the public and communicating with the community. You know, and absolutely, that's come up repeatedly in the survey that we have and the results that we've received, and it was one of the factors that we emphasized in the criteria. And you know, I'm sure that we'll have a question in the interview process that will be focused directly on that. You know, because we are looking at folks that have success. You know, each one of these folks have had success in city government, but part of what I will want to probe is, you know, how were you as a communicator in your community, and we'll also, you know, look at the strategic, you know, how they were able to implement policy in line with their strategic vision. So I've, you know, tried to answer many of the questions and points raised. Councilman, I've been talking for a while. Councilmember Souza, do you want to share your views?
I just want to add one or two things. I do want to touch a little bit on the process and how we went through the 30 applicants that we had. And in the beginning, we took it, you know, we did things that were tangible, things that we could identify. And so that's how we began our process. The interview process, there was a question about how are we going to be assured that the candidates are aware of maybe brand San Leandro by design or any other strategies that we have. Those are things that we're going to be able to find out in our interview process, and I think we'll have questions directed around what do they already know about San Leandro. And so that's something that I anticipate we'll get during the interview process. Of course, once a city manager is picked, they will be, just like a city council member, once we're appointed or once we're sworn in, we get a great in-depth, detailed briefing by all the department heads. And so there's no expectation that someone coming in is going to know everything about San Leandro. I anticipate that a very qualified candidate will have done research on San Leandro and will be able to ask questions from the council about what do they know of San Leandro, and that's my goal, is to make sure that they have some information about San Leandro and what we are and what we want to be. in order for them to be a qualified candidate to come. I agree with, you know, most everything else that he said. I just wanted to add that a little bit. And there was something else. Oh, you know, and one other thing I just wanted to add that, you know, Mayor Cassidy talked about how we had 30 and we narrowed it down to 5. And it was very unanimous, the 5 candidates that the entire ad hoc committee. So, you know, I feel very strong about these are very qualified candidates, and San Leandro is lucky to have such a strong qualified field, and we all felt that way. So.
Well, why don't we, at this point, if there was something, you know, that you wanted to talk about outside of what's already been mentioned, because we have time and we're here to listen. So if there's, you know, neighborhood specific or city issue you want to raise with us, feel free to come up to the mic and talk about that. And we'll just do this part as question and answer. So here's question time with the mayor and Councilmember Souza.
Yeah, my name is Harold Perez. I'm speaking on behalf of Audrey, because I live down there. We have the Oakland Airport down on the marina. The noise is getting worse. We wish, we just had a meeting the other day with the Oakland Airport, and they said, gee, I haven't seen you for 4 or 5 years. I said, why should I come? I got the same thing that I spoke about years ago. The noise, the smell. Go down there and sit. And then you guys say you can't get nothing going down there? You got a sewer on the back side of it that the city makes $3 million on, lava. You know about it. And then we have our own sewer on David Street. And then you want to put hotels and all that in the middle of 2 sewer plants? And we got 2 garbage companies in this country, in this city. I mean, I just don't understand how we can't get some of you people. Sure, we got Prola, he comes down to the airport, but we need the city to go down there and put your nose in down there and smell the pollution coming off those airplanes. They start them like about 12 o'clock at night, and they leave them, 7 or 8 of them, run till they're ready to fly. So when the wind blows, and you know the wind comes from the west to the east, we have to smell it. I just get so tired if they keep stuffing all this garbage down on the west end of San Leandro. We need to have somebody come down there and speak to the Oakland Airport about the noise, because they went through, and here's the other thing. What happened to the insulation program? It's not finished. There's last I heard was 147, but now I just heard there's 92 houses. How come it isn't done? The airport was paying for it. Get that money out of them before they say, no, it's too late, we can't do no more homes. These homes that us down there in the bottom end of West San Leandro, you know yourself. You guys got something crap to go and want to get out of, you put it down there with us. And this is why you're not getting the people to come down there and develop the marina. If we get it developed, let's develop it, like Audrey said, for the people. I live down there. I want to see something and not just say, oh, you know what? We got to stay with this one street going down to Marina Boulevard. And I think you have the other one, Fairway, which only goes part of the way, and eventually you're going to have that so full of cars, you're not going to go down that thing as soon as Kaiser, all the crap that's going over to Lucky Store, going to move in there. I don't know, you guys keep going through, and then stuff, and like I said, everything down there, but you don't go and develop it to where that it fits for that shopping center that you guys are gonna put in there with 140 homes in there, plus Kaiser. And this is what gripes me. We got only the one street. Come down one of these days, take a ride down there at night. Matter of fact, I have a video. I went down there with a guy named Francois. We went down there late at night and we videoed. I wouldn't do it now because they'll put me in jail as a terrorist. But we went down there and videoed all these planes sitting there on the tarmac warming up. And I know Audrey would, I don't know how she sleeps if I'm farther away from than she is. How do the people of Mofford Gardens put up with this noise and smell? And I just wish that you guys would get together and come down there and see what we got to live with. Like I said, you got the garbage company on Davis Street, and you got the garbage company on Atlantic, and we get all the smells, all the pollution, and then you just open what you said, an environmental park that was, and I've got that on tape, that they were going to give us money.
Harold, that's can we bring it to close? Okay. Let me just address in terms of the airport. We do have a city committee, city council committee on airport issues. And it's Councilmember Prola, I think Councilmember Strozak, I believe Councilmember Reed. I'm not 100% positive of that. That's a very good forum in which to bring up some of these issues, to talk to them about this, and to insert your concerns. You know, it's something that I can ask as well, look into further in terms of the noise issue and the smell and the pollution. In terms of the insulation project, that's essentially in 2 phases. And it's a little bit before my time, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the first phase has been concluded, and we recently reached an agreement with the Oakland Airport to fund the second phase. And so there will be another series of homes in which the work will be done, I believe, starting this year and into probably into. Okay, well, Councilmember Souza's not sure those files. We'll have to get you a specific answer back on that one then. But that has been part of the discussion process because the installation, some of the work has been done, our first phase, and our goal is to get the second phase fully funded and the work proceeding on that. You know, in terms of planes being on the airport and revving up late at night, that's something we'll have to inquire in as well. I can appreciate though the noise. It's like I live over on this side of town, but in the middle of the night, the Federal Express cargo planes or so, they fly a different direction. They come right over my neighborhood. So sometimes, like 2, 3 in the morning, I get woken up, or if I'm not sleeping well, and it's like you hear it, and you can't change the fact that they, I don't know, 8 years ago they put the airport at the bottom of Oakland, right next to San Leandro. I mean, that's but we can offer our input and our legitimate concerns to the airport officials, and need to make sure that we are doing that. Diane, do you want to say anything?
I just want to say that I drive down Fairway every day going to work, because I go down Fairway to Marina or go down Williams, but I'm always in that neighborhood. And every day I visit my daughter who lives in West 34th down below Aurora. So I'm in that neighborhood almost on a daily basis. And so it's not that we don't get to that neighborhood. I don't want you to think that. I mean, I think council in general is in most of the neighborhoods. So we are aware of things. And again, most of these things will go through the airport committee, and that's the best avenue. And the council does have briefings on those meetings to the full council. You're more than welcome to continue to bring this discussion to the council, and that's the full council, we will, of course, pass this information on. But yeah, the installation project is continuing to move forward, so it hasn't been forgotten and hasn't been dropped. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that, and people that have put in for it, that process is continuing.
Anyone else want to make some general comments on our city?
Yes, I would like to ask, how many years is the city manager term?
I'm sorry, Andy, I didn't.
How many years is for city manager?
How many years will the contract?
Yeah, the contract.
We haven't decided that.
Oh, okay.
At least 1 year. So,
That is one year.
yeah, but will it be 2? Will it be 3? We haven't decided that.
Okay. I like to see the new one would be like there's a term like maybe 2 years, 4 years, and then they have to be reapplied. So we have the opportunity to select the best city manager for the future.
Well, there'll be an annual review. I can assure you of that. How long the initial term of the contract will be, that'll be a decision by the full council.
Okay. And also, I'd like to see the new city manager live in San Leandro. So he or she is a part of the community, live in San Leandro, then he will be care about our community, right?
And I guess, how we phrase that in the recruitment brochure was, one of the qualities would be a community focus and commitment to be an active participant in the San Leandro community with a willingness to reside in San Leandro, a positive factor. So it's the view of the council, I think it's safe to say, that anyone that wants to express a willingness to move to San Leandro, that is certainly a positive factor. However, we're not making it a requirement of the position. What we are going to be very clear on is that we expect that person, to be an active member of the community. I mean, you can live here and not be an active member of the community, or you can live, outside the community but still be an active participant in our civic affairs and events.
I mean, is if the person lives in our city, in our community, he or she will be more care about our community. If the person is not living in San Leandro, right, it's living in care, right? There will be less care about our community.
I don't entirely agree with that. I agree it is desirable. I don't feel that if the person lives outside San Leandro, that means they care less about San Leandro. There's a range of factors to keep in mind. The ideal situation, though, is, I agree with you, is someone that is willing to live here in San Leandro. We're going to explore that as a question. I don't doubt that will come up, but it's not going to be set as a job requirement. Did you
I just want to encourage those of you who came today. I'm going to imagine that you had a vision of what you were going to hear today or what you were going to see today. And I'd just like to have everyone share, if there was something you thought you were going to hear that you haven't heard, let us know so we can help you. Because I want you to leave today knowing that whatever your expectations were when you came here, that we were able to assist you with that. So I just want to encourage you to share with us.
Yeah, I'd like to bring up just a couple of issues which the city might consider looking at. One is the renegotiation of mortgages. There's been an effort to renegotiate loans for people because of the foreclosure problem, the real estate problem, and if the city can play a more active role on this issue, I think it's going to help the city out. If you have less foreclosures, it keeps the property values higher, and it helps people out a lot. And there's been a real targeted effort on minority communities, in terms of subprime loans, and also, there's been evidence that they've been very reluctant to renegotiate with those same communities. So that's something that the city could play a leadership role in. Also, this whole issue of usury. you know, they estimate 20% of the population have serious credit card problems. A lot of those credit card problems have to do with unusually high interest rates. And, you know, if we could do something around this issue, this is an issue that, you know, it would be inspirational for poor people in our community. I don't think very many middle class or upper middle class people are stuck in high interest rate loans. So that could be something that could be worthwhile. I remember I went to a meeting of the city council and school board, and they had the gang. Somebody was working on gangs. These are serious gangs. I mean, you know, you can almost ballpark that. In terms of usury rates, it's probably over $500,000 a month that local residents are getting shaken down for in terms of extremely high interest rates. So if you could do something about, or at least look at how you could do something about that. But, you know, everything's negotiable, and the banks of all people, talk about who makes mistakes. You know, everybody makes mistakes, especially the banks. The banks have made the biggest mistakes in the country. The second thing in terms of, the airport issue, if there are fumes coming from the airport, I would suggest that, we work with the air board. You know, the air board has monitor systems which they can set up, and if there's some city outcry at the air board meetings, then you can force the air board to place air monitors in your community. And I think at one time Sheila Young was actually on that air board, but it might make sense for that committee to go down to the air board or to get whoever's involved in the city on that issue to approach the air board and to do some monitoring. One other question about the candidate. I was wondering, did any of them come up with some really good ideas for the city? Was there anything that really inspired you in terms of what they were suggesting for San Leandro, during the interview process?
Well, the actual interview process isn't commenced. I mean, that will be on May 7th. So, well, I won't be able to have an answer for you until after that. But that's a great point there. On the airport issue and the airport, that's something we'll have to look at. But that's a very interesting point. And I'll talk to my colleagues and the city manager, what reports do we have on the airport in terms of pollution, in terms of smells? How are we monitoring it right now? What are the other agencies that monitor it? How can we get further information? On credit card interest rates and the targeting of communities for not with subprime mortgages and looking at foreclosure relief efforts. That one's a tougher one for our city. We just don't really have the infrastructure to do that. I'll have to look into that further, but it's we're thin in many areas. We've lost about 20% of total employees, and we don't have like a consumer bureau within City Hall. I mean, we don't have our own health department. Most cities don't. It's done at the county level. As a general rule, and some of the consumer protection matters are done at the county level as well through the district attorney's office and then at the state level. There are certainly social issues that play out in San Leandro that the city government just isn't the traditional or agency to address some of those issues. We have to work with other agencies on that, other governmental bodies, is the short answer, I think. Obviously we take care of police and fire, and we take care of the roads and many quality of life services, but there's other layers of government that also are here at San Leandro, of course, and some of those have greater responsibility over those issues. And some are even within the control of the federal government too. Diana?
I just wanted to say we do have a small department that deals with, they provide seminars on first-time home buyers and programs that help people understand things. So we do have those things, and we do direct people to the housing department, who then possibly does refer them outside to other agencies, but we do what we can in that respect.
You know, I had one other comment or question. I don't know if anyone saw the Bay Guardian this week, but it had to do with the police departments, and they're working with the FBI, where actually policemen on a local level in San Francisco are sort of double dipping. They're both working for the FBI as well as for the city. It's on this thing called the Joint Terrorist Task Force. It's in the, if you look up the Bay Guardian this week. And so the question is, there might be some relief for you know, the budget if that's actually taking place, if people are earning salaries from 2 different agencies. And you know, I know there's a lot of conflict with that issue, but it'd be interesting to know if people are getting, you know, 2 salaries at the same time, and you know, in the cities in such dire straits.
Okay, duly noted.
Stephen, I just wanted to answer him on the monitors. They do have noise monitors, which they don't listen to anyway, but we tried to get one for pollution, and they will not get involved with that.
Who's the they?
Who's that?
You know, you say they won't get involved. Who's the they?
The Oakland Airport. You can talk to Wafa Habarashi, you know her. And because she's the head of the environmental, and she's heard it before. We've tried to get them to put a noise for pollution, and they will not get involved. But there is noise monitors. They might as well not have nothing because they don't abide by them.
Okay. Well, we'll bring the meeting to a close, unless anyone else wants to add anything further. And let me tell you, in terms of our contacting us, communicating with us further, all you have to remember is sanleandro.org. That's the city website, and within it there's some easy links to the council members, or phone numbers, and our email addresses. My email address is scassidy@sanleandro.org, and that's the convention. We had an older convention that was like CI, a bunch of other things no one could remember. Those, if you had that email address, those still work. But also our new email addresses are, first initial, surname, and then @sanleandro.org. And of course, our phone numbers are there as well. Feel free to come and talk to us or send us messages. Please come to our community meetings. Thank you very much for sharing your day with us, for coming out today. It's not a huge audience, but it's a mighty audience, and everyone's voice counts. And we really appreciate, the quality and the great feedback that we got today. And it will have an impact in our process as we move forward. Again, thank you. And Diana, do you have any concluding comments?
Just also, I'd like to thank you for sharing your Saturday morning with us. It's bright and sunny out there, so go enjoy.